Life was always meant to be lived, with intention and purpose. It's what we were all created for. It's what we all share in common, yet each of us experience it extremely uniquely. We hold it in its fragility, yet we try to squeeze out every ounce of it during our time here on earth. When we pull it apart and we simplify it all, we see a picture of humanity and the divine living together. A beautiful connection, a beautiful partnership, a fulfillment of a life lived well. And a life lived well is truly the greatest form of art. This is the art of living. It's time to create. That first one, I was killing it.
Yeah.
The first one. And then you said we were short. I'm just kidding. Is it rolling again?
Yep.
You gotta give me some kind of key.
Okay.
Action. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our 2021 Vision Sunday. I'm Trevor Gudrie, and I'm joined with my father and lead pastor, Steve Gudrie. And we've got Megan, my beautiful wife, behind the camera who's helping us out today. And so we want to take a moment and talk about what our emphasis is for 2021. We're going to briefly look back at 2020 and some of the things that we were able to accomplish and some of the things that God was able to do through our community here at VPC. But most of all, we want to take a moment to talk about something that is near and dear to our hearts and something that we see as important as we move forward into this year. So Megan's going to help us out and ask us some questions to help structure today.
Okay, number one. For those who don't know you, who are Steve Gudrie and Trevor Gudrie in 2021?
Okay, well, let's start it off right off the bat. I'm Steve Gudrie. This is Trevor Gudrie. And you know what? It is kind of cool. 2020 was really a very unique year for us. A lot of you are kind of catching us online and maybe have no clue who we are. And just wanted to give you just a little quick peek at where we kind of came from. I used to be a tradesman and used to do refrigeration and heating. And then God just started speaking into my heart and I went into full-time ministry. I'm a dad. I've got two great boys. Both of them are in the ministry and great to be able to minister with them. They went out and got two really great girls and got married. And out of that, not only did I get two daughters out of the deal, but I got 5 grandchildren. And so I'm a papa to those grandkids. So it's been really a blast. And in fact, one of those came in 2020. And so we're really enjoying having the grandkids with us. 2020, we're just looking at that. We're not going way back. But 2020 was kind of a unique year for me, just in the fact that my son would kid with me and say, an old dog learning new tricks. And that really is quite true because, you know, like we get into patterns and, at my age, we got into some patterns and I really love how God will take you out of your comfort zone. And so 2020, so used to just, getting your sermon ready, going in front of a congregation, preaching. Well, in that, 2020 shot us into this whole thing of going online. And so it's been a whole unique kind of time for us in that. And for me, 2021 is really, it stretched me, but I think in a good way. I'm learning things that I never learned before. Thank goodness I've got my young sons and their wives around to help me with computer things or technology things. But I just think it's so awesome the audience that we're able to touch, the people that we're able to minister to now online that we never really had the opportunity. We talked about going online, and we talked about going online, but we never did it. But COVID kind of shot us into, you have no choice. And so that's kind of where we are right now. So I find 2020 really was a year for me of a lot of learning new things, having to trust God more than I ever did. Sometimes, I've learned this in the amount of years that I've done this, is we can sometimes get into a rut with God where we almost can function without depending on Him. And I would say 2020, I had to depend on Him a lot more than I ever have. And I think that's really positive.
So good. So good. Yeah, Trevor Gudrie in 2021. I think, first off, I'm a husband, a father of 2. I'm currently a student and doing my best to get better at leading and being a leader every day. And one of the things that coming out of a year like 2020 really made me realize was what I see may not always be. And so the world that I'm living in 2020 and 2021 was full of new things, full of challenges, and it basically was a year for me to constantly remind myself that I am the person who's going to step up and meet that challenge. And so to live with great hope for the present that I'm in, but also to build a foundation so that I can have great hope for my future, whether that's myself or whether that's our family, and really figuring out what is the message that our lives and the lives of our family will speak going into 2021 and the years to come. Yeah.
Oh, good. I like that. So if that's who you are, can you just take a moment, Pastor Steve, I'll direct this to you, can you just take a moment to describe who we are as a church? Like, who is VPC?
Well, I think right from the beginning, Megan, we kind of, I've always had a passion that this church would become a vital part of our community. The community, this church was planted here for a reason. There was a vision. God wanted a church in the valley here. And I really wanted it to be a part of our community, to bring hope and to also be a safe place for people to come. So we wanted not only to just be a place where we gather to worship God, but also to be a part of our community in the fact that it can be a hub where people can come and learn how to cook and learn how to do things. It can be, a safe place of something, for students or for the high schools to come to. And we've got some visions in the future that we would love to see happen out of this facility as we can keep morphing, that it would be, let's say a cold location, or if the power went off, this could be a place for people to come. But on the spiritual basis, we just really have this passion that's always been mine, is that we'd be a family. And not a closed family, but an open family. A family that would accept anybody, no matter where they are in their walk with God or without God. They could be introduced to God and start finding out truly who He is. Or maybe they've been a Christian and they're growing. And really, the passion of Valley Pentecostal Church is really to train up and to release. Ministry doesn't really happen in these 4 walls. Really, what happens in these 4 walls is to celebrate what God has done outside of these 4 walls. So what we're trying to do is raise up a team to really live what our vision is. And that is, on earth as in heaven. Because God has placed the Holy Spirit in us. And I love the moving of the Holy Spirit. And a part of that is the fact that He raises us up to love like He loves. And then not only that, but the power that we can see signs and wonders. See, the awesome part about it at VPC is we try to establish this in those that come to realize that God wants to use us. We get to partner with Him to do ministry, to go out and touch people's lives, love on them, help them out, do different things that we're doing with them. And we don't have to wait to get to heaven to really have all the great things of heaven. We can see signs and wonders. We can see miracles. But most of all, we can see God's love here. We can accept people that we don't really even understand yet, but we get to spend time to find out, why do you act the way you do? Why do you do the things that you do? And that's the heartbeat of what we'd love to see happen in VPC. And then also continually reaching out to people. Like 2020 was a very difficult time. And so there's some things that we established that were mental help that we did to try and help people cope with depression or with stress or anxiety and things like that. So that's a focal point, probably putting it in a small nutshell of who we are here. While we're training up, we're also going out.
Great, thank you so much. So how about for Pastor Trevor this time? 2020 was quite the year. Can you just refresh our memory on what our emphasis was last year?
Yeah, for sure. So last year, probably seems like a long time for everybody, but last year our emphasis could be boiled down to 3 words: excellence, expansion, and tension. And our goal for last year was to expand the boundaries of what we thought church was, what we believed about God, what we believed about ourselves, and what we believed about what it was like to be a community of believers who followed Christ, what it actually meant when he said, "Follow me." And so expansion was a part of us realizing, okay, what we've currently been used to, it's time to continue to expand that, to continue to expand what we do and how we think, and to do that in excellence. Everything that we do, there is no spiritual or not spiritual. There is no secular and sacred. Everything we do is part of our worship to God. And then tension, there's always tension when there's growth. And so realizing that there may be some things that we have to let go in order to adopt something that's better. It's this idea of moving from 1.0 to 2.0. Sometimes you have to say goodbye to things that work well to adopt something that will work much better.
It's true. And Pastor Steve, what are some highlights from last year that VPC was able to accomplish?
Well, I think Trevor hit right on that point with his last statement was we had to adapt. With COVID, things kind of shifted, and we had to adapt. We had a choice to just sit back and say, well, when COVID changes, we'll go back to where we were. And we really felt very strong that we don't want to go back. We really believe that even though God didn't plan COVID or anything else like that, it was really a push for us as a church to really go deeper into what God wanted us to do, and maybe deeper in the fact of just getting outside of the walls that we had built around ministry. So, in fact, we're in it right now. You're looking at our new studio. We never had a studio. This used to be a boardroom at one time, and the board came in agreement, and we gutted the boardroom, and the boardroom will meet somewhere in the hallway someplace, because we felt the studio was the most important, that we could broadcast a quality, really message out to the people, do things like we're doing today. We went out and we invested in camera and lighting and different backdrops and everything else like that. And I think one of the things that excited me the most about this whole thing was that one of the passions I had when I first came here 16 years ago, which is hard to believe, 16 years ago, was that if something ever was needed in the church and we didn't have the finances to do it, people outside of the church would rally to help the church hit the goal that God had given us. And this studio is really a testimony of that, because we had businesses and individuals that seeded in thousands of dollars to help us put the studio together. And some of them don't even attend this church. They just know that God is using this church for our community. And so they want to be a part of it. So the studio, going online, those were some really big deals for 2020. They may not seem like a lot, but boy, there was a lot of work that had to go on to get that to happen, especially with this old dog here. And, you know, I'm a people person, so now I have to get used to talking to a camera instead of having all these people there. So it was a real change. We went online and started doing these monthly contests. It seemed like every month we were doing a contest. Father's Day, Mother's Day. And we were giving away some darn good prizes. And, you know, I'm kind of sitting here going, I can't be a part of that. I could have took my wife out for dinner or something like that. But we made it not only for our church family, but we made it for our community. And we had some winners in the community that were ecstatic and just excited to get, you know, a dinner or get chocolates and flowers and, you know, different things like that. So those contests allowed us to reach into our community and tell them that we care about you and that you're very special. And we got launched in, because of COVID, into a Christmas Eve special. We've always had Christmas Eve here at the church. It's been received very well, big turnout of people. But because of COVID, we couldn't get everybody into the church to do it. So we did an online presentation, a special. And I can't believe how many people loved watching it, sitting at home in their pajamas or with their families, just having a great time watching the special. So we had a lot of fun with that, doing it. It was different, not the same as what it was, but you know what? It went over. To try and keep us connected, 2020, we had some of our services got canceled because of the restrictions. So we know how much our people love getting together. We're a family. Family likes being together. So out of that, we started doing a couple of Zoom calls. So we just got our board to call all the people up, and we gave them a link, and we all got on there, and we started talking on the Zoom call, and we can get up to about 100 people on there. So it was great to have those things. So we introduced that in 2020. We've never done that before. And then things started to mellow out a little bit with COVID. We could get a certain percentage of people in. So we went through this whole unique thing of restructuring the whole church, how to bring people in safely, how to position all the chairs safely and do all those things. But we got back to some public services, and we were able to do our online, which was totally different. And then we would come in, and have our public service on Sunday. And sometimes we would preach the same sermon kind of thing, or we would put something new, which was going on. We were able to, and really commend the church family, we were able to do Christmas hampers in 2020. We were able to look after 20 families. And listen, with COVID, things became even more intense, harder for people to make ends meet. And we didn't just do church family, we did out in the community. We connected with our high schools and asked, is there anybody that the students have or are going through a rough time? And so we ended up getting names from some of the high schools that are in our community as well. And we were able to do those. And the response was great from the church family. The uniqueness, we used to always bring in the stuff. We had to bring in finances this year and go out and buy it. And we got unbelievable deals, and a lot of people came on board to help us out with that. And then one of the cool things that we've started to get into, we're still into it for 2021, is we connected with the Billy Graham organization to do Celebration, which is just, in a nutshell, it's unifying all the churches to come together to do a citywide outreach that we're going to do in 2021 in October of this coming year. And what it's done is really brought unity between different denominational churches, pastors getting together, which has always been a passion of my heart to see that happen, which is so cool. We're not in competition. We're all in this together. We're all doing kingdom work together. And it's allowing our church family to gather together and be able to work together to put this whole thing together. So we're looking forward to that. And one of the key things that we did, even though we were under COVID and everything else that was going on, we still did mission work. We have a passion here to look after missions, and so we took on a church, a local church, and so we helped financially, encouraging as well, and so we supported it throughout the year, and we also supported overseas. So we're trying to spread that out as well. So you know what? It may not seem like a whole lot, but it was unique with COVID, and it was a good year, 2020. We did a lot of cool things.
That's awesome. It sounds like a lot. 2020 was a challenge, but it was still worth it, wasn't it?
Yes.
So looking at 2021, Pastor Trevor, what is our emphasis for this year now?
Yes, drum roll. I guess you guys probably already guessed it. All right, so this idea, the art of living. I guess I would start it this way. It is believed that it takes about 10,000 hours to become an expert at something, to become an expert at your craft. And that works out to about 10 years of deliberate practice. And I just turned 29, and I feel like anything but an expert when it comes to life. And so this idea of what would it look like for us to actually give ourselves to the art of living. And I think one of the reasons that some of us probably feel like anything but an expert at life is because It isn't how many repetitions we do. It's not how many times that we've tried to get better at living. It's not just giving forth a good effort. It is deliberate practice. It's living with intention and living in a way that everything we do carries purpose. And so this idea of actually giving ourselves a community of people, a community of people following Jesus and looking to him as basically the great artist. I think this idea of life being an art form is where we're kind of wanting to focus this year. Creating a culture where individually we've given ourselves to developing a life that looks like Jesus and the life that he actually has made possible for us. And so there's this beautiful quote by Erwin McManus, and he says, "We have been imagined to imagine. We've been created to create. We are arts of work and artists at work." And the question is not whether we will create something. The question is, what will you create? And this idea behind the phrase, the art of living, is that Jesus, when he came, he was not just reconciling all of us to the Trinity. He was not just making us right. He was actually showing us what it was like for us to live a life like him. He lived fully divine, yet fully human. And we could never separate his divinity from his humanity. And that means that we cannot separate ourselves from the life of Jesus. The way he lived with compassion and empathy, the grace and the love that he lived with, the wisdom and the purity and the righteousness, all of these beautiful things, the creativity that flows from him is actually the life that we're called to. And then when there's a group, imagine a group of people that would continually give themselves to developing this art form. Like artisans of old, molding and crafting something into such beautiful artwork. And instead of something, an object, it's our lives. It's our lives that we're saying we're not just going to take it by chance, that we are going to live our lives. That idea that if you choose not to live your life will just live you. But here for a year, at least a year, we want to say we are going to choose to live life with intention. We're going to choose to live life knowing that every aspect of what we do carries weight, not in a stressful manner, but in a joyful manner, in a manner that is, we are actually players, we are our participants in creating the world that we want to see.
That is amazing. I'm so pumped about that. So if that's the what, and if that's kind of the why, then how are we going to do this?
So yeah, today is like going to the buffet and somebody telling you you can only have the appetizer. Okay, like we're just scratching the surface today. We're going to be releasing some more documents and media and things like that to continue to show how we're going to get there. We're going to have some announcements about some events and things to do in this crazy world of COVID life, how we can pivot and adjust things so that we can still grow together as a family and also still grow together individually. And so whether those are small groups, events, intensives where we actually just focus on something that is pivotal in our lives and we just want to grow in that specific area, there's going to be ways to serve this year and to serve our community, right? One of the things that we're passionate about is not changing our community. We're here to serve our community. And so looking for ways to continue to do what we know we're here to do in this new way of living.
I love it. Well, this is for both of you, if you were to leave people with something, one thing to inspire them for 2021, what would you say? Who's going first?
Guess it's me. I guess for 2021, I'm, as much as there's all this confusion with COVID and, all the different things that are going on with it, what's going to happen, when's it going to end, when's it not, are we ever going to get back to normality or whatever. one of the key things that I just love about this, God doesn't wait on COVID. And God's got a plan for us as a church and as Christians and as children, his children. And I'm excited about it. There's no two ways about it. If you're around me a little bit, you know I get pretty excited about Christmas. And I'm not one of these guys, my younger generation, my sons and their families say, hey, just send me money. Give me money for Christmas. And I struggle with that because I love looking at their lives and allowing God to show me what would be a gift and buying the gift and doing it. And so for 2021, I just believe that God has got gifts within us that need to be open to the community and to people around us. And it may be some people you never thought God would ever use you to minister to. And it's just going to come naturally, as we're saying. It's just going to be who you are. It's just going to ooze out of you. And I guess my key word is that when I see that, when I see God's giftings being released out of people's lives and them really walking in a partnership with Him, what I see is there's an excitement that comes. So being a child of God is a blast. It's not, oh, I got to go to church and I got to follow the rules and I got to do all that kind of stuff. No, walking with Him is just like, Trevor was saying. He was talking about the fact that it's a part of who we are. It's our DNA. Christ is in us, We need to just let it out and just live it. And when we do that, we're going to see change around us. And I really believe 2021 can be an exciting, fun time to be a child of God.
Good. Yeah. If I was to inspire, hopefully this is inspiring. All right. I heard somebody say, the world does not need more leaders. The world needs good people who lead. And I think that's something that I'm realizing, I think probably all of us are realizing more now than ever, is that the world does not need more leaders. The world does not need more people who know how to say the right thing at the right moment. People are looking for good people. The world needs good people. And good people who have the ability to imagine a world that is yet to be seen. And this idea that we all have the ability to imagine something that is yet visible. And good people look at that and say, I can imagine a world that is not yet seen, and I have a part to play in creating that, making that tangible, making that something that is now visible for the world to experience. And so in 2021, that's kind of my hope, is that we can imagine a world that we would love to live in, that we would love our children to live in, that we know is the kind of world God has always had in His mind, always been dreaming about. And that we could, as good people, giving our lives to artfully living, to deliberately practicing a way of living, create a beautiful world. Yeah.
Very good.
So good. Well, we want to thank you so much for taking just a few moments to, maybe a little bit more than a few moments, but to be with us for our Vision Sunday for 2021. We're excited for what this year has, and we're excited that you are a part of what we're doing here. We could not do it without you. So
enjoy the appetizer, but there's more coming.
There you go.
The buffet is open.